Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Speakers Bank podcast, Our Voices, Our Views. Today, you have me again, the program coordinator of Speakers Bank, Mimi Lorilia, and we are still doing our series of interviews with some of the people that we have met along the way as part of our Speakers Bank team. And they are previous students of universities, registered training organizations, and TAFEs that have done their work placement at Speakers Bank, and just a way for us to catch up with them, to reconnect with them, and to find out what things that they are doing at the moment. So today the special guest is Mr. Warren Kwan. Hi Warren, how are you?
Hi Mimi, good.
And Warren, it's very good that you said yes to me because I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you. And I know that even during the pandemic, people are still busy working online. Some of them are working from home, and I'm pretty sure you're one of them. But I would like to just quickly spend a bit of time with you to backtrack, recall your experiences with Speakers Bank and your work placement, because that's the theme of this series that I've been doing. So just to get to know you, because some of the people that are listening to us or viewing us may not have heard about you before, I know and I recall that you came to study in Australia. You decided to study in Australia as an international student, and from the Philippines. With what background do you have prior to Australia?
So I finished my bachelor's in psychology in the Philippines, and then I worked in HR for a couple of years back at home. And then when I moved here to Australia, I moved here to initially study psychology as well, but then I shifted to finish my master's, to take up master's in social work.
Mm-hmm. So that wasn't the original plan when you
Yes.
first thought of studying. What made you shift to masters in social work? What was the impetus, or what was the situation that led you to decide that you will shift gears?
Well, there's some similarities between psychology and social work, but I would say that psychology is more clinical and medical compared to social work. Social work is more broad. It can be applied to multiple fields, and it's more on direct practice. Somehow, like, and in some aspects, it's more direct practice for me, having an effect on the community itself, and it's not just based on psychology and medical factors.
So, in other words, you wanted to expand your options and your the opportunities that are available to you. And Australia is very good with providing those vast array of opportunities.
Yeah.
So, you studied at Federation University. Your placement, was that the first or the second placement in your course of study?
So the first placement I did with the Filipino Community Council of Victoria, and then the second one I did it with Speakers Bank. Yes.
Okay, so
Connected.
prior to doing the actual placement itself, when I interviewed you, when we accepted your application to do placement with us, what was your expectation then of what your placement would look like? Did you see it just a continuation of the one that you did with the Filipino community, or you were just open to anything?
So it was mostly being open to anything, because I know that there's some differences with how the aging sector and the disability sector functions as a whole, and I know that Speakers Bank is more is for the advocacy, and it's a different type of program. It's actually very creative compared to the aging placement that I did before, because it's not bound on the specific set of rules that the government implements on their projects. So I know that Speakers Bank works in a very different way. That's why I actually enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I really appreciated the time that I spent doing my placement in Speakers Bank.
Before we dived deeper into everything that we did, before we had done everything, did you have any initial thoughts and apprehensions about working with or for people with disabilities at the time?
Well, I did have some background experience back in the Philippines, where interacting and working with people with disability, especially people with mental disabilities, mentally challenged. So it wasn't a surprise to me, or it wasn't really an issue for me working with people. It's not a new thing. So I didn't really have any struggles with it. It was actually fun. I learned a lot. I enjoyed the time that I spent with the speakers, having discussions, learning more about them, learning their experiences, listening to their speeches, and attending and helping all the activities that we did and the projects. It was very enjoyable, actually,
Mhm.
apart from the learning.
Yeah. So, what do you think? So, you mentioned the things that you enjoyed. What about the challenges and the things that you found difficult at first or during the course of your placement? You found that to be kind of like a barrier or something that you would have to work harder towards overcoming.
So maybe more on the challenges and the barriers would be how I mentioned that Speakers Bank is is a different structure itself. So being more fluid, being more flexible on how we work on things is different, because I worked in a structured setting before,
Yeah.
and there's already like specific set of rules, procedures, and stuff like that. But with Speakers Bank, it's more on creativity and more on, yeah, being more flexible and adapting to the situation and just
Mhm.
managing the time and the tasks appropriately.
Yeah. So you found that it was like a breath of fresh air to be able to work in
Yeah,
an
yeah.
environment where there's a lot of flexibility,
Yep, yep,
creativity. What do you
yep.
think are some of the specific skills that you learned while you were on placement that you now think in your job really helped you to become, more adept and more qualified in terms of what you're doing?
So maybe just checking on the background, maybe the things that are usually not seen. So yeah, the human factor. So I think that's a big part of Anecto itself. So the human factor is very important. Sometimes it's not just about the procedures or stuff like that. It's more about story, about the voice. And yeah, so I think that's the biggest part of what I've learned, is just a broad range of things about advocacy itself, which
Mm-hmm.
has been very crucial in like with the work that I'm currently doing as
Yeah.
well.
So I would like to reveal to our audience, because I really need to find this connection, that Warren is now a part of the organization. So after he finished with his masters, he got a role in one of the teams in what do you call are you Northern Metro? Do you call yourselves Northern Metro? One of the departments in Anecto's northern offices. So congratulations to Warren. So you are one of the very few who have transitioned smoothly as part of your work placement into the workplace within the bigger organization. It's not every day that we find students having experienced what you've experienced. So how was it for you? What changed, Warren, when you finished your placement and you were starting to look for jobs? Did your perspective change? Like you first initially thought you wanted to do psychology, then you did social work, and even social work is a broad area of work. You can work in domestic violence, you can work in family children. Has your experience in the placement solidified your plans of working in the disability and aging space?
So I would say for me a bit, yeah, a bit. So because most of the experiences and the papers and what I've read, policies and stuff like that, most of the background and the things I've learned is mostly based on disability and aging. So most of the work that I did try to look for initially, and successfully, is based on those areas. And I was very lucky that I was interviewed and accepted in the NECTO, and it's already the field, that industry that I already have an experience with. So I'm very lucky to.
That's right. So, did you feel a level of confidence knowing that because you've done your work placement with Anecto, that your values and your thinking and your skills are the ones ready to offer to Anecto itself? Has
Yes.
that kind of empowered you a little bit? Yeah.
Yep, I would say so. Yeah, I think it's a very big factor that I have some introductory basic level knowledge on how Anecto works. The four basic elements of Anecto. So that's, I think that's a very crucial point of, yeah, having the values and working in this industry is very important and crucial for what I can say.
That's great. So what's next for you, Warren? Are you planning on studying some more, or are you just trying to get settled in your job? What do you think is Warren Kwan's medium to short to medium term, future?
So I just recently got accepted in the case management team. So I'm doing some work on that. I'm just starting up as well on that field. I'm just transitioning from the CSHP to the case management. So there's a lot more reading and a lot more learning to do. But I think it's pretty crucial that I did start my experience with Anecto on the advocacy field, because I think that's very important, that we need to make sure that there's a human on the other side that we need to.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a human that we work with, and I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, the people are at the center of the work that we do. The people themselves. We revolve around person-centered care and how we support them in whatever needs that they obviously need help with. So Warren, for those people who are watching us that are contemplating on doing a course with a work placement component versus a course with this, which is just maybe pure theory, can you give them any advice, or what things can you share about the benefits of having work placement, and also definitely by doing it in an organization like us at Speakers Bank?
I think the hands-on experience is like valuable, very valuable. I would say I can say that you can learn a lot from theories and reading and researching, because most of the work, maybe like half of the work that I did in master's is based on that. But I can say that the value that I gained and the experience that I gained from having work placement, and especially with a great organization like Anecto, is somehow immeasurable, since the practical skills that I learned, the connection, the person to person, so it's not just about like what I've learned based on knowledge. It's also the experience itself on how to interact with people, how to work, the work culture. So like I said, it's more about the human side of the work itself. It's not just about like knowledge.
Yeah. And one thing that I think is the strength of the work placement design that I have tried to implement is it's really working in groups and in various settings. You're not just tied up with, you're working on your own with the task that you do every day, like just random, not really random, but something that is repetitive. But in the work that Anecto does in general, it's not really repetitive. Every day there's something new, there's a variety of things that you need to do, and you get called to do different things. So you are taught how to use your different hats on, your thinking cap on, and it really puts you on your toes all the time. So you don't just sit there and relax. You're always raring to go and always problem solving. And I think that's what Anecto does best, which is to problem solve and find the best ways of resolving those issues or problems. Warren, I really want to thank you for your time today. It's been short, but it's a good conversation. And again, I would like to congratulate you for now being a part of Anecto, and hopefully your case management pathway proceeds and you become a very successful case manager. You will have more responsibilities. I know how tough it is with case management. And I'm very happy to stay in my little bubble, which is Speakers Bank. So Warren, again, thank you for your time, and I hope that this is not the last time. I hope that we can invite you again to share your insights in one of our future episodes. Do you have any last things to say, or a message to our viewers?
Yeah, I think it's great that I was able to be interviewed for Speakers Bank. I'm very happy to help out in any way I can, especially I'm part of the Anecto team. And I think that it's very valuable that students are learning firsthand on how the work is done and what's required in having transitioning to the workplace. So doing the placement in a crucial setting is pretty helpful.
Yes, I agree. You and I are singing from the same hymn book. Okay, thank you, Warren. Thank you, everybody. It's Mimi once again saying bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Speakers Bank podcast. Until the next episode. Warren, bye.